What's up, everybody? This is Whiskey in the Six. I'm Rob, doing a Deanston rundown, but I'm calling this one the good, the bad, and the ugly. My experience with Deanston was always a very good one, especially with the core range. I love the 18-year-old. The 12-year-old is really nice. I was having really good experiences, but I'm going to tell you how that changed in this segment of the good, the bad, and the ugly. So, over here I have a 15-year-old Deanston Sauternes cask, 57.3% alcohol. Over here I have the brandy cask, which is a 9-year-old. This is 56.4%. I have the newer cream sherry 13-year-old 2006, 54.2, and the Paolo Cortado Deanston 21-year-old 1997. I'm going to nose all four of these, taste them, and give them a mark, but I'm also going to include others in the category they belong to. Starting over here with the ugly, unfortunately. Now, this was a gift. I'm not trying to knock the person that gave it to me, because if they loved it, that's great. It has a note that I just can't get around liking. So thank you very much to Joe. I really appreciate the gift. This is not a knock on you. This is just a character that I like to call taking the red pill, because once you notice it, it does not go away, and you find it in other whiskeys, and unfortunately I find it here. So there is some sweetness here, and I could see how that masks that note that I'm talking about. Maybe like a little bit of orange peel. Lots of notes that might mask that note that I always fear opening a bottle and getting, and it's that ammonia note. This whiskey unfortunately has it. Okay, on the palate. Yeah, and it's there too. On the palate, it's there as well. Not much can be done about it. Once you taste it, once you know what I'm looking for, it's one of those things where it just doesn't go away. I get it from the Deanston 20-year-old Oloroso as well, and I know that a few other people that have that bottle got that as well. I'm going to give this one, unfortunately, a 69. It does not, that note I can't get over, and even that Deanston 20-year-old, I don't even know if I marked it, but if I marked the Deanston 20-year-old, it was even worse than this one, probably like a 60, maybe less, all right, for me. I know a lot of people love those whiskeys, and I apologize if I've offended you. I hope you never experience that red pill that I'm referring to, because if you don't, then you can go on enjoying your whiskey and never noticing it, but I have been noticing it in much more whiskeys now, and I'm noticing it a lot in Deanston. Unfortunately, this 15-year-old Sauternes has that note, and so did the Deanston 20-year-old Oloroso. Moving on to the bad. Now, not sure if you noticed on my shelf, but I've had this brandy Deanston for quite some time. It's brandy cask finished, of course, 56.4%. It's 9 years old. A good value too. It was only about $120 or so at the LCBO. I'm gonna nose it, taste it, and give it a mark for you. So lots of maple syrup on the nose. This has actually opened up quite a bit now. Yeah, the nose is actually opened up quite a bit. Really, actually, I'm enjoying. Maybe some like creamy caramel kind of notes in there as well. Drastic change. I think the problem was the palate though. Okay, so nothing off-putting, but it's got quite a bit of heat to it. Gonna add some water to that one. It's got a lot of sharp heat to it. I think that was my biggest criticism on this one from day one. I was hoping that a little time in the bottle would calm that down. It didn't really go away. It is only 9 years old. Unfortunately, with water, you lose that prettiness on the nose. You lose that maple syrup kind of note, that creamy caramel. It kind of just dampens right down. on the palate. Much more tolerable, but again, those nice flavors have been dampened down as well. This one for me is a 79, approaching an 80. It's not great whiskey. I would definitely not buy it again. I probably use this in cocktails and stuff like that just because it's got that really high ABV and it tastes like it has a really high ABV. And unfortunately, that does take away from the experience. And like I said, this one's a 79. Moving over to the good, and the good thing is that there's a lot in the good category. Although I've had some bad experiences with Deanston, and it does, I'm not going to lie to you, make me hesitant to buy future expressions from them. I did end up pulling the trigger on these two recently, and I can talk about a few others that I really enjoyed as well. So starting over here with the 13-year-old Cream Sherry. Really nice Oloroso nose on this one. Pretty notes, lots of sherry. A little bit of like a almondy kind of note. A little bit of like dark chocolate, a little bit of maybe coffee as well. On the palate. Good creaminess on the palate, good viscosity, getting those nutty notes as well coming through on the palate with some caramel, dark chocolate as well. The finish is a little bit of like an espresso note. Yeah, there's a lot to like in this one. I really like it. It's not a bottle that I need a backup of, but it's still very good. I'm going to give this one an 85. I think it's good whiskey. Would I buy it again? Not at 140 bucks Canadian, but it is good, and I'm glad I pulled the trigger on this one. Some quick ones before I get to the Paolo Cortado. I want to mention that the Deanston 10-year-old PX kind of has a cult following, that one. It was really, really good. I gave it a great mark back then. I'm going to keep that one at a 90. If I didn't give it a 90 then, I'm going to boost it up to a 90. Excellent whiskey. Great bang for your buck back then. It was less than $100. Expensive on secondary. Really good stuff though. That was a great expression by Deanston. The other one I want to mention is the Bordeaux cask. I think it was a 2009. That one was excellent as well. That one is like a berry bomb. It was beautiful whiskey. I really loved it. Great price too, just about $100 Canadian, which was an excellent price. Honestly, that Deanston Bordeaux cask was at least a 90 for me. I'm going to keep it the same. Really, really good stuff. I'm not going to get into the core range stuff. I do have a review on the channel of the 18-year-old. I might review the 12-year-old in the near future. But let's finish off with the Paolo Cortado. So this is a 1997, finished in a Paolo Cortado cask. The Bunnahabhain version of this whiskey is astronomical in price. This one, however, is $300 Canadian, which I think is a very reasonable price, considering it's a cask strength whiskey aged in a pretty rare wine cask. So really nice nose on this one. A little more subtle at 51.8%. 21 years old, like I said. Get some nice light berry notes on the nose. There's a pretty citrus note in this one as well. A little bit of honey. It's not overly chocolatey or what you would expect from a sherry cask, but it's got some really nice notes to it. On the palate. Oh yeah, this is the winner on the palate for sure. Really nice, light berry notes, moving into like that clementine note as well, like I said already. Some honey, maybe a little bit of caramel. A toffee-like flavor in there. Nothing too hot. It's got a nice balance to it. I think with a little oxygen, this is going to get really good. But it's already in a really nice zone. I know a couple people have said that this one was a little flat, but I think the subtleties are nice here. I don't think it needs any water. You can add a couple. It does open it up a little bit. Not a whole lot to change the mark too much. I'm going to go with an 89 on this one. I think it's really good stuff. Out of all the Deanstons I've had so far, my favorite probably was that Bordeaux Cask Strength limited edition. Honestly, I hope they come out with more product like that because I have been deterred from buying Deanston products because of some of the expressions I've experienced through them. So there you have it, guys. The good, the bad, and the ugly. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you really like the video, you can hit the subscribe button, hit the bell to get notifications for when I do release a video. You can support this channel on Patreon. You can support as little as $1 a month. It's set up by episode, but that doesn't mean that you have to pay by episode. You can set your amount for the month, like I said, as little as $1, and then have that be your contribution for the entire month. You guys can also check out our podcast, The Whiskey Rant, on all places where you find your podcasts.